Hi everyone. People asked me this week to talk about what's the point of all what we do in the Seder night. What's the reason for everything, and what's the reason for all the Seder night and the matzah. So the Seder night, as we know, it starts with Kiddush. And then we do two very strange things. We wash our hands. We don't make a bracha on washing the hands like we do usually for eating bread. We wash our hands for eating vegetables. There's when we eat vegetables which are wet with our hands, we wash our hands like bread. People don't know this, but this is a halacha that we wash our hands like we wash our hands. We don't make a bracha on netilat yadayim, and then we eat the vegetable. We dip it inside salt water. Something very strange. After that. We break a matzah. Why do we break a matzah? Usually we leave the bread which we have for Shabbos, we leave it whole. We don't break it. We break the matzah, and then we start Magid, reading the Haggadah. So if you read the Haggadah properly and you read it, you can read it in English, you can read it in Hebrew, whatever you understand. That's basically we understand why we do everything. So the Haggadah, we have 15 parts of the Seder night. Kadesh, Ochatz, Yachatz, Magid. Magid is talking about what we're doing. That's the main part of the Seder night, basically. The main part of the Seder night is not eating matzah, not drinking wine, not having meat, not lettuce. The main part of the Seder night is talking. That's what the Seder night is all about. Talking about the miracles, talking about what we do, why we do what we do. So the Magid, the part we talk, we read all the Haggadah. That it starts with Manishtana, usually the children, or whoever it is over there. It doesn't really have to be children. It could be adults. It could be if someone's doing the Seder night by himself. So you sit and you ask yourself, Manishtana, why is this night different than all the rest of the nights? What's happening here? What are we doing? So whoever asks it, it could even be the parents asking the kids, or the grandparents asking the kids, what are we doing? Why are we doing? So we ask, Manishtana, why is this night different than all the nights? Because all the nights we eat chametz and we eat matzah. This night we only eat matzah. What's the point of it? And also, all the nights we eat all types of vegetables. We eat salad, we eat all sorts of things, and today we just eat lettuce like rabbits. And all the nights we don't eat vegetables and dip it inside salt water before the meal. This night we do it twice before the meal. This night we sit leaning. Usually, every night when we eat dinner, our parents tell us off for leaning on the table and leaning onto the side. And today, we have to lean when we're eating the matzah and the wine. So what is the point of all of this? So when we answer, what's the point of all this? Avadim ayinu leParo b'Mitzrayim. We were slaves in Egypt to Pharaoh. And if God wouldn't take us out from Egypt, we'll still be in Egypt. We'll still be slaves for Pharaoh. And there's a lot of introductions to all this talking about the exodus of Egypt and why we do all what we do in the night of Pesach. Like we have the Rabbi Eliezer, who talked about the exodus of Egypt for the whole night until students came and said it's time for praying in the morning. It's already dawn. We have to finish the meal. And Rabbi Eliezer that says we have to say it every day, not only in the Seder night. It's very important to know why we do all what we do in the exodus of Egypt, because that's the reason for everything, basically. And to every person, you explain it in a different way. We have the four sons. The four sons is basically saying that to every single person, there's a different way of explaining the stuff. If you explain it to one person one way, you explain it to a different person the other way. There's someone smart, someone not so smart, someone that doesn't ask, someone that doesn't care. There's all sorts of different types of people, and every person you ask in a different way. So, to the point, why are we doing what we do? So, all started at the beginning. Our ancestors were idol worshippers. Avram Avinu's father, Nahor, he was an idol worshipper. Then God took Avram Avinu away from all this idol worshipping, led him through the Jordan River to the land of Israel, and took him, adopted Avram, and he promised him, and God had promised Avram that he's going to have a lot of offsprings, and he's going to inherit the land of Israel, and also his grandchildren are going to go to Egypt. They're going to go down to Egypt. They're going to be enslaved, but they're going to come out, and I'm going to save them. They're going to have exile, but I'm going to take them out of the exile, and I'll keep them. And that's what happened. 2 generations down, Avram, Yitzchak, then Yaakov goes down to Egypt, and the Jewish people are getting enslaved. Before they get enslaved, the Jewish people come to Egypt. It was supposed to be just temporary. They came to Egypt to be there just to live there for a short amount of time until the end of the famine. But they get stuck in Egypt. They multiply. They become a big nation. And then the Egyptians get worried. What's happening? The Jewish people, they're going to take over Egypt. They're going to rebel. So they start enslaving them. They make them slaves. They oppress them so they don't multiply. They should stay small. But what happens? They oppress them. They enslave them. They make them work. And the more they oppress them, the more the Jewish people grow. They just become more and more. The Jewish, there were the miracles there. That the Jewish mothers had 6 kids in every birth, and huge miracles. So Pharaoh decides he's going to kill all the firstborns because he gets a. They tell him that the person is going to take the Jews out of Egypt is going to be a firstborn. The Jewish people will get very upset that it's so hard, and they want to kill all their firstborns, and it's so hard to be in Egypt. They get to rock bottom, then they start crying and they pray to God. When they start praying to God, then God redeems them. God waited for them to pray. They hit rock bottom. Then they started praying. They started crying and screaming to God that God should save them. So they prayed to God, and God took them out of Egypt with a outstretched arm, a strong hand, and outstretched arm. Zohar Netuyah, Yad Chazakah b'Zohar Netuyah. And with all the 10 plagues and everything. And we know that this exile of Egypt, it's not the God promised Avram Avinu that he's going to redeem the Jewish people from Egypt. But it's not only Egypt; it was every exile the Jewish people went to. God promised he's going to redeem them, and that promise that God promised to save the Jewish people and redeem them, that was what saved us every generation. We have the song V'yishe'amda l'avotenu. That's what stood for our ancestors. That not only one wanted to kill us, not only Pharaoh wanted to kill us. There was a lot of generations. Every generation, someone else wanted to kill us and destroy the Jewish people. And that promise that God promised Avram Avinu, that saved us every generation. And that's basically what we do in Pesach. We remember that God saved us, and He's going to save us every generation, whatever happens, however hard it is. Pharaoh wasn't the worst. Before Pharaoh, there was even Lavan, Yaakov Avinu's father-in-law, which wanted to destroy the entire Jewish people. Not only the firstborns, he wanted to destroy the entire Jewish people. And God saved us from him. And then every generation, till this generation, the people that want to destroy us, they keep doing terrorist attacks, and we believe and we hope that God's going to save us. So about the Seder, what's all this doing things on the Seder table have to do with coming out of Egypt? So and when you continue the Haggadah, there is a part when we say whoever doesn't say these three things, he didn't fulfill the commandment of Pesach, or the Seder night. What are these three things? Explaining what's Pesach, Matzah, and Moror. What's this Korban Pesach? What's this Pesach about? The sacrifice of Pesach. What's Matzah? Why are we eating Matzah? And why do we eat this lettuce? Whoever didn't explain all this didn't fulfill the obligation of Pesach. So what's Pesach? Why do we do this Korban Pesach, the sacrifice in Pesach, and why do we keep this 7 days? Why do we do the sacrifice in Pesach? So before the Jews left Egypt, right before the Jews left Egypt, we got a commandment to do to Korban Pesach, the sacrifice of Pesach, on the 14th of that in the afternoon, the 14th of Nisan in the afternoon, then the 15th, and then the 14th of night, the 15th. All the firstborns of Egypt died. Every house had a death. Many houses had a lot of deaths in their house, because not only the firstborns of that family died. Rather, in Egypt there was a lot of mixed marriages, open marriages. The people went with other mixed around with marriages. So it wasn't only the firstborn of this father and this mother. This mother has a firstborn from a different father, not only from her husband. So a lot of firstborns in every family, and they all died. And then the Jewish people who did the sacrifice of Pesach, the Korban Pesach, and they ate it at that night, God skipped over their houses and didn't kill anyone in those houses. So that's why we do this Korban Pesach. Now we have to remember this. We have a little on the Seder plate. We have a wing or a leg or something, or a leg of an arm of a sheep. Because now we don't have the temple, we don't have the Beis HaMikdash, we don't have the Korban, so we have to remember it. Then and we have matzah. Why do we eat matzah for the 7 days? And we don't eat any leavened bread. Because when the Jewish people left Egypt, we left so quickly. It was when it was time to leave Egypt, we left right away. There wasn't even time for the bread to leaven and become bread, so we ate it thin matzahs. And maror, the lettuce. Why do we eat the lettuce? Is because it was so bad in Egypt, to remember all the suffering and all the bitterness that we had in Egypt, so we eat the lettuce. The other things it doesn't say here is the leaning. Why do we lean? Is because to remember, to feel the freedom and the royalty that we are in now, and not slaves that we were in Egypt. The dipping, we said at the beginning, the dipping was so that the children will ask, and that people will ask. We do these weird things before the meal. We break the matzah, we dip the lettuce inside, we dip some vegetable inside salt water, just to get curiosity of people, so people could ask, because that's the whole point of this night. So we should all remember that the Pesach wasn't only in Egypt. Every generation we have the Pesach of that generation. Every generation we have exile. We have the people oppressing the Jewish people, and the people who want to kill us. And we remember that every generation, every generation, the people come to destroy us, and Kadosh Baruch Hu Matzeinu Me'adam, and God saves us from them. So soon, maybe even tomorrow night, we'll have the Beis HaMikdash, and we'll have the real sacrifice of Pesach all together in Jerusalem. Happy Pesach.